How is it going, everyone? Welcome back to Lucero Gaming, back with another BNSF Cajon pass on Train Sim World 3. And in today's video, it's all about the SD40-2. So I'm going to walk you through everything you need to know inside the cab and even how to start it from cold and dark. So if you want to see how it gets done, stick around and let's get into it. How is everyone doing today? Good to be back in California on the Cajon Pass. Got the good old SD40-2 with us. These locomotives have 3 axles, so it has way more horsepower than your GP38s. So again, like in the intro, this video is about cold and dark. You're not going to find this locomotive in that state. Currently in the game, Dovetail does not allow that to happen. Hopefully in the near future, they're able to update it and we can start with locomotives that are off. But this video is just to give you the rundown of how everything works, how do you start it, because if you accidentally shut it off, um, and if you're new to the game, or even if you're a veteran, you want to refresh, this video will cover all of that. Alright, so first things first is here, we got the handbrake, okay? I do not knock off the handbrake until I start the locomotive, okay? And we have a conductor with us today. She'll just sit there and wait for the train to move. So now we're in the cab. And this locomotive is much easier than the AC44s. Is it the ES44C4s? I can't remember what it is. It's the other BNSF locomotive. This one's much easier to understand, much easier to control, and much easier to turn on. So now we want to get back to this back panel, and you can see that everything is off. Okay, we have no power. Now this button does not start the engine. Okay, it won't start the engine. You're gonna have to go on the side here, but before you do that, what you need to make sure to do is this isolation switch is on to start, stop, or isolate. So right there in the middle. Open up this cabinet, throw this knife switch up, and again, you're gonna start from the top breaker, and you're just gonna go through. I recommend you just turn all the fuses on. Okay. Now the fuses in this black area has to be on and up in order for the locomotive to start. Okay. So we're just gonna get all these switched up. And boom. That's it. This warning device right here, this is your alerter. I always run with it. In the game you don't have to, but if you're up for the challenge or more experience, you can flip that up and you can have your alert going off. Alright, so once we get these switches up, what we want to do is we want to come out onto this catwalk. So here's the engineer door behind the engineer seat. And you're going to keep walking down till you see this little window on the right hand side. You're going to come to the door ahead of it. So on the right side of this window, you can see that this door right here. Unlatch it and open and open. Okay. So the switch we want to look for is this switch right here, engine prime and start switch. You're going to hold the A button or whatever button it tells you. I'm currently on the Xbox Series X, so I'm on controller. So I'm going to hold A down, and you're going to go to the left to prime it. Hold that prime button to 5 to 10 seconds. All right, there's my 10 seconds, and now I'm going to go to the right. Again, hold your A button, and now you're going to go to the right and do the start. And hold that button for about 7 seconds, 10 seconds, until you hear the engine running. And then here's the governor. If you just want to play with this, you can. So if you push it, it'll crank the engine. Okay. So once you're done there, just close everything up and lock the latch. Now coming back into the cabin here, before you sit down, you want to make sure that this switch is on run, and your headlight control, since this is the lead locomotive and there's nothing in front of us, you're going to want to make sure that it says controlling with unit coupled at long hood end. So that's a long hood end. Now let's say if there was a locomotive on this side, short hood end, you would do the bottom, controlling with unit coupled at short hood end. Okay? If you're a single unit, so if there was just this unit by itself and not the unit attached to the rear, or if we had another unit above on this side and a unit, this is how it is right there, and this is the middle, you'll have this switch up there. It says single unit or intermediate. So intermediate is anything in between the head end and the rear locomotive. Okay, and that locomotive back there, that rear one, is actually controlled in this. It would be on controlled from another unit coupled at either end. This runs your lights, okay? But since this is the lead, we'll leave it right there. And then I come on this side and I look at these lights, switches, and engine room light, you can turn that on. Platform lights, that's the lights that are on the catwalk. And then number lights, you need that when you're on the main line. And don't forget to turn this on, dynamic brake. It's very important. If you don't have that turned on, guess what? Your dynamics won't work. And the cool thing too is this light does work. Right there. So the engine room light works. I love how the little detail like that is in the game. Okay, so we got everything set up. Now we can sit down. Alright, so we're going to start again from the top. Here is your end of train device. This does not work in the game. It's just there to look. Same thing with this screen. It's there for the look. Okay. Radio, the only thing that works on it is your banking comm. You'll use that if you're into DP power, but ST40s and GP38s do not have DP power, so you don't have to worry about that. If you come over to this, it looks like a phone. You can actually contact the signaler. So if you just press on it, it says proceed as signal indicates. So if you're going down the main line and they say to contact dispatch, you just come over here and you can contact them. Okay. PCS open. This is if you go into emergency, that would be light up. If you're wheel slipping, that will light up. And braking warning. I think that is if you're low on air. Okay. Here's your horn. All right. This light I think is for the sand. Yep. Sanding lead truck, and you can actually hear it sanding, and that light would tell you if it's on. This button, so this only does the lead locomotive, okay? This button, if you gotta hold it down, will sand the entire consist on the train, so all the locomotives. And then here's your bell. So if you blast a horn on this, it would automatically turn on the bell. Keep pushing the wrong button. Okay. And so if you're on controller, it's the left thumbstick. Just push down the left thumbstick and that would do your horn. Here's your braking systems. Top one is our automatic. Bottom is independent. Automatic controls everything on the train. Locomotives, train cars. So that's what that does. Independent only controls locomotive brakes. And I'll kind of get into that a little bit later in the video. And then got this switch back here. This is the cutoff switch for your independent. So since we are the lead locomotive, we're going to leave it on lead. But if you're trailing, you go to trail 24. That's what that locomotive is in the trail. All right, so now we're coming over here. Here's your alerter. You can push this button. If the alerter is going off, normally you push that button, or if you are in a notch, you can notch up or down, and that should turn it off. Or if you're on controller, you push B, and that will reset the alerter. Down here is your rear headlights. Anytime you're running, you want to make sure that they're on at least dim. I think in the game it might. I don't think it works with dim. Okay, well on the SD40s it does work, so you can leave it at dim. On the other units, for some reason it does not work. So anytime I run a train, this switch is always on. And because this switch is like that, it will not turn on this headlight. See, that one's off, and it's gonna turn on your rear locomotive. Okay. Let's go over here. Here's a reverser. So you can actually take it in and out. To put it in, hover over the top of it, and it goes in. You can go down and you can move it forward or reverse. Or if you're on the controller, I use the D-pad on the Xbox One, and I just push up on that D-pad, and it goes into whatever direction I want to. Here's your throttle. You have 8 notches of throttle. I recommend going with notch 1, wait a couple seconds, notch 2, wait a couple seconds, notch 3, and then you can go on from there. Dynamic braking. So another braking system in the locomotive. I'll show you that here in a little bit. And here's your gauges. Okay, this gauge right here does not work. This usually tells you if you have airflow within the brake pipe, so the automatic. This gauge does work. The green means you're applying power. Normally, if you get to 12 amps and above, you're going to probably will slip, or you're going to burn out the motor. You can see that it says 60, 25, 15, and 5. If your needle is, let's say, on the 60, you're only allowed to run this engine at that high of amperage for 60 minutes before you need to knock it down. And so, like, same thing with the 5. You can see the 5 minutes. So that's a safety thing. Again, you don't have to worry about it since this is just a train sim world, or simulation game. And on this one, the yellow brake, that's it when you're in dynamics. Now, talking about the other gauges, I'm now independent, and you're going to look at the red dial here, and that is your independent. See how that goes down? So this is our independent. Now the thing with independent, you can apply and release as much as you want. It's not like the automatic where if you set, because if you're in freight, if you set 10%, you got to knock all the way off to get your 10% back. So that's the independent. That's why I recommend when you're in the yard switching stuff like that, you use your independent to stop. And on this side, let's see here, main reservoir. That is our air in our tanks. So our air compressor in that engine compartment back there. The white equalizing reservoir, I want to say that I can't now remember. Okay, that's right, that's right. That is our brake pipe. So when it's off, it's 90 pounds. Okay? When you apply it, you can see initial reduction. We went down to what, 82-ish? Add a little bit more, 33%, and you can see that's going down. Okay? Now let's add about 97%. You can see the needle's going, or about 70. Probably should stop around the 60. Okay, see how that's stopped? Now look at your needle over here for the red. It's, again, that's your independent. So that means that there's brakes on these locomotives. So if you're dragging a car, or you're going downhill and you don't want to use or have brakes on your locomotive, there's a thing called bail. So bailing is, you know, you applying. Bailing is the opposite direction. Okay? And you just hold it, and you should see your needle down. Let me knock off the automatic. Again, let it build up some pressure. So while it's building that up, let me go through the couple other switches. On this right hand side is the engine run, gen field, and fuel pump. If these three switches are not on, you will not move. You gotta have all three switches up. Step lights, gauge lights. So step lights are the steps, um, where the conductor jumps on and off up here and back on those steps. And then underneath the throttle, kind of hard to see, but it's the headlights. You want to make sure that your lights are on bright and ditch lights are on. Brights. So there's our headlights and there's our ditch lights. All right, now let's put another set on the automatic. See, it should be moving up, but does not work. Now I'm gonna bail him, and you're gonna see the red needle slowly go down to 0. So that means we have about 15, 12 pounds on the cars, if we had cars on us, and 0 pounds on the locomotives. And then to cut out is this down here. So we're in freight, that up is cut out, and if you're running passenger, you go to passenger. So what I do is I'll set up about 50%. If I'm stopping and I gotta swap ends or cut out, I'll put 50% on. Wait till my needle stops. It stops. And then we're gonna go to cut out. And now you're gonna go all the way to handle off. And now this locomotive is cut out. None of the brakes will work. Okay. And to cut it back in, you do the exact opposite of what we just did. And leave your independent in release when you cut it out. So lead, and once it gets cut back into lead, throw your independent on, knock that all the way off, and cut into freight. Two horns to go forward, and if you're going backwards, you would do 3 horns. Oh yeah, I did forget. The reason why we're not moving is that handbrake. Let's go knock that off real quick. So you can see down here that that light is on. The little blue light says set. Come on this side, release, and the green light would be on. Same thing, set it, and the light's on. Now the reason why I don't knock off the brake when the locomotive's off is because some of these locomotives will leak all the air out, and if you knock off that brake and you're doing all of this stuff and there's an incline or decline, you're going to be rolling. So always leave that brake on. Again, you're not going to find the locomotive like this, but if you want to be as realistic as possible, that's how we do it in the railroad. Alright, let's talk dynamic real quick, see how to use it, and then that would be the end of this video. So I want to get up to speed here. Now, it doesn't matter if you're going forward or back, the dynamic will kick in. So I'm going to get to about 20. I'm going to be over speeding, it's fine. Alright, so we're at 20. Now we're going to knock all the way down off our throttle. And you're going to wait and count 10 seconds. And what you want to make sure is you don't have no amperage, either on this dial or on the dials on the bottom right hand corner of your screen. And once you have no amperage, then you're going to come over here and you're going to put it to setup. Give it a few seconds, let um, these controls back here switch, and then you can start applying it. So we're in 6, and you can see that our braking is on, our amperage is good, and our speed is slowing down. We're at 9.7. You can go all the way to 8, and you see how high it is, and we stopped. Now to get out of dynamic braking, right, yeah, I'm going to leave it on the dependent on. To get out of dynamic braking, you're just going to come all the way back off, and you're going to go to setup. Just like the throttle, you're going to give this 5 to 10 seconds. I recommend 10. Let the amperage go down, and then you're good to go, and put it to off. And then now you can use your throttle just like normal. Alright, so now to end the video, how do you turn it off? Well, it's pretty simple and pretty easy. You get up, you put the isolation switch to start, stop, or isolate, and then you push this button. And now the locomotive is off. And now you're going to have light and all that things on because your knife switch and those switches inside that cabinet are still on. So you just shut off the engine. Sometimes you can turn it off right here, but in the game it does not allow you. But I hope everyone enjoyed that video. I hope it helped you out. Like I said, you're not going to find the locomotive like this, but if you want to start it up, play with it, kind of get used to it, kind of know more of the controls. This is what that video was meant for. If this video helped you out, if you enjoy it, please consider giving the video a like. Helps out the algorithm on YouTube. And if you love Train Sim World content as much as I do, make sure you subscribe because there's more videos coming out in the future. But until next time, we will see you all later.